Okay, we're gonna try a question. Now, this first one. There's only two types of questions that they can ask you in trig. There is the first type that we're gonna do now is find a side. The second type that we'll do after is find an angle. This one I know is find the side because I look at it, it gives me an angle. It's saying find that side B that's going up. How high is that going up that wall? So we're going to try and find that side B. Okay? So this one is a find the side. How far up the building can it reach? So I'll just read through the question. A 10-foot tall fire truck has an aerial ladder mounted on it. The ladder can extend to 101 feet. The angle of elevation of the ladder is 63 degrees. How far up the building can the ladder reach to the nearest foot? Okay, we see that there's a little triangle going on there, right? With the ladder, the wall that it's reaching up, and the top of the truck there. So with this, I'm going to make my trig ratio. So here is my angle. That means I can label. Here's my 90 degrees. This would be my hypotenuse. Across from this 63, that would be my opposite. And down here, this side that I'm not really interested in, maybe I'll write it down here, is my adjacent. Okay? So, from my angle, I've got the opposite that I'm trying to find, and I have information about the hypotenuse. I don't really have anything about the adjacent. So I'm only dealing with opposite and hypotenuse. If I write my stuff up here, opposite and adjacent, I don't know anything about the adjacent, so tan's not going to help me. Adjacent and hypotenuse, cos isn't going to help me. I've got to use sine. So that's why each of them are slightly different, sine, cos, and tan. They, for what a different situation, they'll help us out here. So let's try subbing in here. We haven't subbed into our ratio yet. So we've got, oh, sorry, my handwriting is terrible on this little thing here. Sine, my angle is 63. Sine 63 is opposite, which is B, I don't know the opposite, over the hypotenuse, which is 101. And that's in feet. Now, whenever I'm solving equations here, I want to get the unknown thing all by itself. What's not allowing me to have that unknown thing all by itself is this 101 down here at the bottom. Now, some math teachers say you bring it to the other side and do the opposite. So this is divide. We'd bring it to the other side and do multiply. Some math teachers say to get rid of it, we got to times both sides by 101. Times both sides by 101. I like this. This is actually what they both do the same thing, but this is actually what's happening. Both of those cancel out because we're doing the opposite. So we're left with 101 times sine 63 equals B. Now this doesn't take as long as it's taking right now because I'm trying to explain it all. But it'll be a lot quicker. And it's quick to do on the calculator. Now, I'm going to call up a calculator here. One important thing with these calculators, hang on, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger just for a second. You may not have a TI-83 calculator. That's okay. But what I want to show you with this calculator is, I'll clear off this stuff. Oh, I was actually doing the question there. one thing that you got to worry about with these calculators is when you turn on your calculator, a lot of the time it's in radians. So if I push, and although it sounds cool for your calculator to be calling you rad, you need to push the mode button until it has a D at the top or says DEG for degrees, and we need it set like that. Okay, so let me just double check it. So again, it needs to be in degrees in order to be able to do this stuff. If it isn't, it's dealing with something called radians, which is 180 is represented by pi, and yeah, we're not going to get the stuff that the answers that are in our book anyway. And there's also one on some calculators called grad, although we all want to do that. Be a grad. Actually, I've never used grad. I'm not. Maybe someone in the comments can put what the heck grad is. It'd probably be as simple as a YouTube search. Anyways, what we got to do now? We're doing 101 times sine 63. It's as simple as typing it into your calculator. Times sine 63. This one automatically puts the brackets, so I'm going to use them. Enter is my equals 89.99. So that side there, we'll still call it B, is 89.99. Now if I push next on this slide, it's going to say that my answer is actually 99.99 or 100. Why do we think that? Let me hide this, the answer is kind of hidden by my calculator now. So I'm going to hide my calculator. Hopefully we're okay with that calculation. The reason is, if we look back at our picture here, B goes from here to here, the top of the ladder. So we're saying that this is about 90. I'm going to write 90, just so it's smaller. We know that this height of from the ground to the top of the fire truck is 10. It says so right over here. So we need to add on that 10 because it's saying how high up the wall it can do, which is a little trick. So because this is a word problem, we'd put our therefore statement. We'd write therefore how far up the building can the ladder reach? Therefore the ladder can reach 100, or we could put 99.99 feet, which is probably a bit more accurate, to the top of the building. Now I'm cheating a little bit here because my handwriting is so terrible on this thing. I'm going to just go with that. But we would want a nice therefore statement, which is usually what people are looking for the communication marks anyways. If you're working and your boss tells you to find this stuff, you don't want to say B is 89. You want to say the ladder can reach this high. Okay? So if we push next, that's what they got. It's kind of hard to read there, but that's what they got. Okay. We're still doing find the side here. This one is a slightly trickier question. A little bit of it's cut off, but I'll show what it says here. Actually, maybe I'll just do this. There we go. So a small plane is flying at an altitude of 350 meters over Lake Ontario towards an island. The angle of depression, and it's marked on there, the angle of depression, to the island is 15 degrees. How much farther to the nearest kilometer does the plane need to fly before it is above the island. Okay, so let's start off by labeling this thing the same way that we would have with the last couple questions. I gotta find my mouse. There I am. So here is my angle. Here is my 90 degrees. Right across from my 90 degrees, this has got to be my hypotenuse. Across from here is my opposite. And this Q, that means the leftover side here, the Q is my adjacent. Okay? I don't know anything about the hypotenuse. I'm going to write over here my SOHCAHTOA. I don't know anything about the hypotenuse. So that cancels out cos and sine because they both have hypotenuse stuff with it, right? So all we've got are opposite and adjacent. That means we have to use tan. So let's set it up here. We've got that ratio. It's been a bit since we've seen the thing, so I'll write it. Tan of my angle is the opposite over the adjacent. So I'm just going to sub everything in exactly how you would think. So tan, my angle is 15 degrees. The opposite is that 3,500. And the adjacent is that side Q that I want to find. That's going to be my answer. Now, we're still doing a find the side. Remember, there's only two types of questions that they can do. One is find the side, two is find the angle. We're still doing find the side. But this one's a little bit trickier because this Q down here is on the bottom. So normally we don't like our variables on the bottom. We want to get it by itself, so we don't want it down here. Now, the full-on mathematical way to do it is we would want to times both sides by Q. Oh, I'm getting too far over here. Times by Q. And these Q's would go away, and I would have Q times tan 15 is equal to 3500. But Q's not by itself. So now I've got to divide both sides by tan 15. Remember, doing the opposite these tans would go away, and then I'd have Q by itself. What some people remember is if I have Q down here at the bottom, and this is a quick way, just the same way as some people are just kind of memorizing how to do some of this stuff to get through it. Maybe this is the last time you have to take it or whatever. We can just flip these. It's kind of like in science where you have a fraction and you do the cross multiply. Same idea. It's like there's a 1 down here. Well, there is a 1 and you're multiplying that, so that doesn't change. We're just flipping those two, which is essentially what we're going to get. We're going to get Q equals 3,500 divide by tan 15 degrees. So that's why it's a little bit trickier, that bit. A tiny bit trickier. Once we get to here, though, it's easy. All we got to do is open up our calculator. I'll clear that out. You could leave it on. We're doing 3,500, so I'm going to type that in. 3,500 divide by tan 15. Tan 15. I'm going to close my bracket there. Equals. Holy smokes. Okay. So Q equals hopefully I can fit it in here. 1, 3, 0, 6, 2.18. Now, we're dealing with meters, so our answer is going to be in meters. So it is 13,062.18 meters from being directly over the island. And we could set up our therefore statement and to reflect that. Okay, hopefully we're okay with that. That is the trickier question. So there's going to be two types of find the side for this. This is the trickier of the two because our variable is on the bottom. We got to make sure to do that little swap there. Okay?